there. You all, what do you think? Do you kind of agree with me on this or not? So in this next topic, we're going to talk about the federal tax credit, the 7,500 federal tax credit for Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, and kind of, I guess, my thoughts on it, on why every day I'm getting closer and closer to thinking that they're not going to come out and say anything. They're not going to announce any, further battery guidelines until March 31st. And we'll talk about my reasons why on that. And so if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, and which is basically trying to get the best deal on a Tesla. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. So here is what we're talking about. If you don't know what the federal tax rate, it's a $7,500 federal tax rate on the Model 3 and the Model Y, but you have to buy before the IRS and the Treasury release more guidance on the battery minerals and the manufacturing of the battery. And so on Tesla's website, it says this may change at any time during 2023, and quote, at which point the credit value may be reduced. And so what that actually means is if you go to Edmund's site, which breaks down the battery tax credit, it's actually broken out into two parts. 3750, 3750. Half of it is due to the critical battery minerals, which industry rumor is that most EV battery minerals come from China and other places that are not a free trade agreement. Battery component manufacturing, it seems like that could be the US. And so potentially a lot of these vehicles, the Model 3 and the Model Y, might qualify for half of it or maybe even the full, but we actually have no idea until the IRS and the Treasury release more details, which if we go to the IRS website, you can't really find anything on it except for one page that essentially talks about how they're going to release it sometime in March and it goes into effect the next day. And so there's a lot of speculation. Like Troy Teslike has put out a video in which, or put out a tweet in which he feels like it's going to be March 31st. And every day I kind of feel the same. I kind of feel like it's going to be further on down the line. They're going to hold off into it. And here's kind of why. So if we go back into the history books, if we go back into when the Inflation Reduction Act was actually signed, it kind of nullified a lot of vehicles right off the bat. If I was trying to Google it back then, it was actually signed into law on August 16th. That's when President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act. And that's when the $7,500 federal tax credit was stripped from a lot of different vehicles. I'm talking like the Ioniq 5. Tesla Model 3 and Model Y didn't have it at the time because they already sold past a certain cap, but a lot of vehicles basically didn't get a tax credit after that date. And so that probably caused a lot of confusion for buyers. It probably caused a scramble for manufacturers, and they kind of probably didn't like that. And they certainly most likely lobbied the government into saying like, hey, can we, not do it mid-month? Can we give some sort of update or give some sort of threshold to give us some sort of preparedness from this? And so that's why I feel like, they're not going to do it mid-month like they did before. They're going to wait all the way until the 31st of March so that it goes into effect on April 1st. Or actually does it, give them a 30 to 60 day rollout period for anybody that has a pending delivery push to March or April or even May. So I really feel like that could be the case. They don't want to complicate any sort of delivery dates because it's already confusing as it is with the 7,500. Is it the full 7,500 based on income limits and dates and vehicles and all this stuff left, right, up and down? So I can certainly see they are not going to announce any sort of change to this until March 31st, and it really probably will have a 30 to 60 day rollout. If I were to think, logically, I guess, but of course, like we all know, the government sometimes does not think essentially like that. But also the kind of the third thing on why this is most likely going to get pushed is because what's going on with Silicon Valley Bank. If you're unaware of what's going on, like the Treasury might be a little busy right now with everything that's going on with Silicon Valley Bank and essentially bailing out. So I don't think they want to, release more news, but maybe I'm just thinking too singularly, I guess, on this. But That's why I kind of double down on the fact that they're not going to necessarily release any sort of guidance or updated guidance on the 7,500 federal tax credit for the all EVs. It's not just, we of course think microly about these Model 3 and the Model Y, but it does have rampling effects to across the industry and to across all the other EV companies out there like Ford Mach-E, Volkswagen ID4, and all the other companies, because you can actually go to like on the website here, you can actually see which vehicles based upon like manufacturer and all that stuff. And you can see there is a big list of all the different companies that could be affected by this. You can see Tesla right here is on the MSRP limit, but that could certainly change, and we'll see a lot more clarification hopefully by the end of this month, or maybe there could be a delay after that. But let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know what you're thinking. Do you kind of agree that it's going to be a March 31st at this point? I mean, we're March 13th at this point, mid-month. I certainly feel like they're going to push it all the way to the end of the month. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you agree, or let me know what your thoughts if you have a different thinking on all this. So we're going to jump into the live stream comments. But before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description is a Patreon link where you can get a variety of benefits. So definitely